In favour of an extension of time? Anyone against? Cool. Thank you. Sorry, I'm slurring my words at this point of the day. Debbie and Dave, thank you so much for waiting, and I'm sorry we've left it so long. And sorry I don't know your name. Kate. Cool. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, councillors. So I'll just briefly introduce Dave Allen, Manager, Natural Environment Strategy, Auckland Plan Strategy and Research Department. With me, my colleague Debbie Hogan, Principal Analyst Strategy, and Kate Morrison from the Legal Services Branch, Senior Solicitor, just in case there's any other interesting angles. But we're hoping we can run through this presentation very quickly that Debbie's got, just to give you an overview. Just to point out, when we, as a matter of process, is just to say that, of course, we had this request for submissions from central government in December, and we've been, sort of trying to beaver away in the last few weeks over January to get this together. So obviously, what we've got prepared today is a paper that sort of outlines a direction, some themes in terms of how submissions should be formed, and so Debbie will outline some of those main points for you today. And we've got about a week, 10 days for the council to bring that together. So I'll hand over to Debbie and run through the background. The pointer.
Thank you. It's because I understand we're on, the end of the day and everybody's keen to get onto other things. So I was going to go through various things, but I think the main point really is, like Dave said, we're under some tight time frames for the Water Services Bill. And the main thing is what we're seeking today is delegated authority to enable us to complete preparing the submission and get it approved before the 2nd of March, which is the submission closing date to the Health Select Committee. So I won't read through everything on this slide, but the main purpose of the Water Services Bill is to set up the new drinking water regulatory regime as a standalone act to the current regime under the Health Act. And of course the powers of Taumata Arawai, who is the regulator, set up last year. I think a couple of things just to point out is obviously this act applies to all drinking water suppliers, so that's everybody except a domestic self supply, so that's everybody except a single household who's got their own rain tank and they take care of themselves. Except maybe in a drought. And related to that and recognition of that is that regulation is proportionate to scale, complexity, risk. And I think one of the other key things around the new provisions or the regulatory regime is there are some new duties and obligations, and they are more onerous on both the water suppliers and also on local authorities. Hence why we have legal as well, who are taking a close look at some of the definitions around it. So in terms of duties, 4 main duties around ensuring and providing safe drinking water, and I was just actually looking earlier, there is a must provision around this, so suppliers must provide safe drinking water as opposed under the Health Act. I think it refers to essentially all practicable steps. So you can see there's some quite serious differences. The giving effect to Te Mana Utiwai is a link across to the National Policy Statement for Freshwater Management. So there's a strong connection with those provisions and the Resource Management Act. And all suppliers need to provide drinking water safety plans. So in terms of duties and obligations on local authorities, that involves ensuring communities have access to safe drinking water supplies, and there's a subsequential amendment to the Local Government Act around assessment of those supplies and a more specific and lengthy requirement of what we need to do, including 3-yearly assessments. We're required to share information, assess effectiveness, and work with suppliers, consumers, and the regulator when services fail. One of the key provisions in there is around protecting sources from risks and hazards, and there's requirements around identifying, managing and monitoring those. Once again, that connects to the national policy statement. And the key thing around this is that local authorities need to agree to undertake various actions around risks and hazards that may need to be addressed. This is just some additional submission themes. Just the underlining is, so these are based on attachment A to your report. The underlining, and just talking to staff over the last couple of days, some additional things have come up. We think that we need some clarification on environmental performance around what that exactly means for stormwater and wastewater networks. And the last bullet point, and this is really talking both to legal and Watercare, we think there needs to be some clarity around exactly what a supplier and supply is. Otherwise it's going to lead to some awful confusion, and also in terms of future proofing with what may happen with the 3 water reforms and different ownership models. And this one is just really a summary of Auckland Council maintained water supplies. So there's a list up there of what we own and look after. So this is Healthy Waters, 301 public small water supply systems that are, and 146 of those are potable. About a third currently meet the standard drinking water standards, which of course may change in due course. 43 need upgrading, and there's funding program for that. And another third need to be upgraded, and they're currently unfunded. And out of the 146, 25 will need modification for welfare supply, and that is a funded program. That's me.
Councillor Cooper has a question.
Thank you. Yes. Were Watercare involved in this, or asked to even put an addendum like we did with the unitary plan, and we got the local boards to put in, given they are the people that supply the water and take the bad water away? Were they involved in this?
So through the chair, yes. So staff have held a workshop a couple of weeks ago, which the result was those key themes. Watercare attended, and they have been involved in the circulation of information to date. I actually had a meeting with Watercare yesterday, and we talked through some of the areas of difference, and they're pretty much on board, and they will participate in the completion of the draft submission on behalf of Auckland Council Group. So yes, they are involved.
Yeah, I hope that in here is some of the technical stuff that we can't do that complements this from Watercare, given they will be the supplier and we're not the supplier in general. So I just hope that that happens. There's a different perspective, but it still will make a very good use of everybody's expertise to go towards informing this.
Through the chair, could I just say, so completely agree, and it will, yep.
Any other? Oh, sorry, Member Wilson.
Kia ora, thank you. And there only one question. I don't have any others to raise. And it was just in attachment A, where it talks to giving effect to Te Manawa Te Wai, and it talks about Auckland Council noting that the Maori Advisory Group will form an integral part of ensuring the views and tikanga have been included. Can you let me know who or what that group is that will be advising Auckland Council, please?
So through the chair, the Māori Advisory Group is advising Taumata Arawai. So that's been set up under the regulator legislation. And so the points around Te Manawa Te Wai were provided by Ngā Mātarai staff. and they highlighted the fact that we actually don't know a lot about that advisory group, and that more information should be made available.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think there are any other questions. Cool. I'll move. Councillor Cooper would like to second. Just quickly, thank you very much for the fulsome information, and I agree with Councillor Cooper's points as much as we can, having the aligned, so not parts of council talking differently, and I'm sure we'll ensure that will happen. So, any other speakers? No? Perfect. All those in favour? Aye. Those against? Thank you very much for your time, and sorry for the delay today. So the summary of item 13. Is there any questions? Would anyone like to move? Councillor Casey, a seconder. Councillor Young. All those in favour? Aye. Those against? No. It was. Checking.
There was no consideration.
Oh, no consideration of extraordinary business, so I can